I suppose you know I've got a lot of cars. People have written about it in the papers, and a lot of them write and ask me why. Well, when I was driving a truck, every time a big shiny car drove by, it started me sort of daydreaming. I always thought that someday, somehow, something would happen to change everything for me. You know, I'd daydream about how it would be.
I was actually the recipient of 3 cars from Elvis.
The Cadillac that Elvis gave me was a 1975 Eldorado.
My husband was given a Brahms Fleetwood Cadillac by Elvis Presley as a gift.
I had at the time a Mercedes. And Elvis said to me, he said, listen, you're Jewish. How can you drive a Nazi car? Now I want you to get rid of it. Now you have a Cadillac.
Not too much later, a few days later, we all got Cadillacs.
I'm looking around the car, I put that top down, I'm thinking, I'm dreaming, I am dreaming. I want to pinch myself, but I don't really want to wake up.
One of the first things he said was, I have a car coming for you tomorrow, and I said, I don't need it.
But he was more known for his extravagances of gifts and cars, and Elvis was a Cadillac person.
He loved his Cadillacs, they were his gift of choice. He bought his mama one, paid for it with his voice. And it was pink, of course, just like him, baby, now that's a playhouse. Oh, well, he drove his daddy crazy, money that he spent. He promised him he wouldn't, then he'd do it all again. He loved his Cadillacs, he gave a ton away, 200 more or less, or so the pundits say.
I met Elvis on July 6th, 1972, around, I'd say, midnight. I was Miss Tennessee Universe, and he was Elvis. I was invited to go to the Memphian Theater after it closed, because that's when he would rent out the theater and screen films. And I thought, after midnight, that doesn't seem, very respectable. But I didn't understand at the time that that's how he lived his life. That's how he was forced to live his life.
I was actually in grade school. He was just out of high school. I met him this summer of '54 in our local neighborhood. Elvis and I grew up about 2 city blocks from each other. And I went to the playground one day to get up to play a game. This was exactly the same week that Dewey Phillips played That's All Right Mama. And he said, a boy from Humes High, and that stuck in my mind.
I started working for Elvis originally April the 30th, 1964. I was a hairstylist in Southern California. Our reputation grew, and my phone rang, and I picked it up, and I heard this Southern drawl say that Elvis would love me to come over his house to fix his hair.
I go in the huddle, because any young kid wants to play with the older boys, and I saw this guy in the huddle, and I went, that's the guy. That's the guy Dewey played the record last night. And sure enough, it was Elvis. It was not so much the look, it was the look, but it was more the attitude. I was really into Brando and James Dean, and this guy was all that and more.
We bonded immediately. We shared the same religious fervor. We shared the same love of Southern cuisine and very much into our families and family bonds. So we just felt, immediately like kindred spirits.
And right away, he was more interested in talking and exploring relationship with me than his hair. And he asked me what I was into and what really interested me in life. What interests me more than anything else is my search for truth, for God. He said, wait a minute, Larry, wait. Just hold on. Just keep on talking, man, because you have no idea. I need to hear what you have to say. Please.
In my senior year in college, he said, I need you to come to work for me. He only had 3 guys working for him at that point. And I said, when? He said, now. And we left for California that day.
And the conversation lasted about 3 hours. And at the end of the conversation, he said to me, hey man, look, why don't you just go back to your shop and tell me you quit, you work for me full time, what do you think? And all of this is happening all at once. I said, yes.
Treat us.
I just called him Babe. I would just go in at night and I'd say, hey, Babe, how are you doing? It just sort of stuck. If I was getting tough with him, I would say, hey, Elvis, come on. This is what we got to do. And some of the medicine he took didn't taste good. He would fuss about that. And I said, spit it out and I'll give you some more just like it. Swallow it the first time, you don't have to swallow it but once. And then I would call him Elvis.
I'd met him in '58. Red took me to Rainbow Skating Rink, and that's where I first met him. Got along great. I joined the skating party, got my butt kicked real good. I couldn't skate good. I just took it. When Elvis died laughing, and Red just started guffawing, man. It tore him up. So Elvis just told me later after I went to work for him, he said, I watched you that night. And he said, I really liked how you took care of yourself. A lot of guys got frustrated and angry and mad, and you did it good.
My name's Kang Ray. I met Elvis Presley in 1970.
You taught him for how many years?
Total on and off 5 years.
And his degree?
7th degree black belt. Later on, Master Ed Parker promoting him 8th degree black belt before his death.
Elvis really loved karate, and he loved to talk about it, and he loved to talk to my husband about different discoveries that he made on his own, and it was nice. They were very, very close to each other, and Elvis felt my husband was like a brother. My husband was given a Cadillac by Elvis Presley as a gift, and it was definitely something my husband didn't even know that Elvis would do. He just presented it.
I'd say he bought at least 20 to 30 Cadillacs at one time, okay, which would cover a multitude of 150, 200 Cadillacs since we've known him.
You don't figure a superstar like Elvis walking in a dealership and buying a car like that. You figure he might call up and say, you got a Lincoln down there, this color, that color, blah, blah, blah. 9 o'clock Monday morning, I looked outside and there he was pulling up in his Cadillac. And he said, where's that car you was telling me about? How much is it? I said, $6,100. And he said, I'll take it. And I just froze because I knew I'd made one hell of a commission. And so he says, how long will it take you to get it ready? I says, it'll take about 30 or 40 minutes. He said, I ain't got that long. I said, I'll have it ready in 10 minutes. Before 9:30, there must have been a crowd of 200 or 300 people there.
Limousine pulled up, another limousine behind him, and 2 cars. Elvis was in the second limousine, and there were about 20 people all together. Pulled up there on Union Avenue, got out in the parking lot, and started picking out cars. He wasn't there a total of 15 minutes. Bought about 10 cars. But by the time he left, by the time his entourage pulled out, maximum 15 minutes, we had a good 100 extra people there just standing around. So I can sort of understand why he pretty much was a night owl.
I dream Elvis came and he said to me, you're so pretty, you're so sweet, I'm gonna give you a special treat. Took me by the hand and led me to the street, it was parked right there waiting for me. Honey, this is all for you, my eyes popped out and yours were too. It was a blue, 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 Cadillac.
During the wee hours of the morning, a little lady and her husband were walking by on the sidewalk, peeking in the window, and Elvis walked out and asked her what she was doing. She said she was looking to see what was going on. Do you want a Cadillac? And she said, I always wanted one. He said, get her one too, and got her a Cadillac.
He was the only guy I knew that would give away cars. Like one time he was at the Cadillac dealership. He was looking at a car and a black lady was looking at it. And she
Manny
says,
Person.
Huh?
Manny Person.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
And he bought it for her.
Yes.
Yeah. And she said, oh, I love that car. She said, I wish I could have it. She said, well, you just got it. And that's the way he was, Just put that on my bill.
There were times when he gave extraordinary gifts to people that he didn't even know. I remember we were driving once down Wilshire Boulevard, and there was a Cadillac dealership, and he peeked in and he saw these two women, a young girl and her mother, looking at this car. He told the driver, "I want to go in." And he went up to the young girl and he said, "That's a pretty car." And she said, "Oh my God, you're Elvis Presley." He said, "Yeah." He said, that's a nice car, isn't it?" She said, "Oh yeah, well, we're just looking, you know, we were just kind of walking down the street and we thought we'd come in and look at the car." He said, "Is that the kind of car you like?" And she said, "Oh yeah, but you know, I'm a student." And he actually purchased the car for this girl and her mother that he'd never laid eyes on before, but he just saw them looking as if they wished they could afford a car like that.
Everyone followed Elvis in our cars, and we drove to Beverly Hills, to Lou Eller's Cadillac dealership on Wilshire Boulevard. And when that salesperson saw Elvis coming, you could see his eyeballs just turning to dollar signs, you know. Elvis said to all of us, "Pick out a car that you want." And everybody picked out Cadillac. It was unbelievable. I had the most beautiful black Cadillac convertible. Loved that car.
So he loved to see my smile. Especially he gave to me Eldorado Cadillac. But no reason to give to me. I had a car, but he said you should be more comfortable and then a more luxury car instead of that small car to driving.
You know, in the South, beauty pageants were big, and I had a nice little run on them. So I had put myself through university, just, you know, winning pageants. So I was Miss Liberty Bowl, and I had this little Vega that didn't have any air conditioning on it. It was just a little standard car, and he laughed at me and made fun of my little Vega. So before I knew it, I had a beautiful blue Lincoln Continental. And then a few years later, I got a Cadillac Seville for Christmas. And then he saw this beautiful yellow Pantera, and he said, "You'd look great in that car. I want to get that for you." I said, "The Pantera? Really? I don't know how to drive a stick shift." He said, "Well, I'll teach you." So he got the car and took it for a drive. And we came back from the test drive, and he said, "I'm taking this car back. You can't have it. You'll get killed in it." I said, "Well, okay, that's fine. I didn't need another car anyway."
You said it was a three-wheeler. That's the one he drove you around the block in?
Mm-hmm. Especially, you got a three-wheel automobile.
No, that's a Cadillac?
No, that's a German Messerschmitt.
Oh, okay. That's what he gave you? He gave you the Messerschmitt?
Mm-hmm. It's a three-wheel automobile with a bubble top. A lot of people offer me money for it. It's not for sale. It's like an airplane without wings. And the bubble top, it opens up.
Color?
Burgundy.
Interior?
Black. Cool. Sharp. Hey, ooh, what is that? Everybody, ooh, ah, what is that? Have you ever seen one? There's something. It's a German Messerschmitt. You can have all the Cadillacs you want, but you can't get a Messerschmitt.
One of the first things he said was, "I have a car coming for you tomorrow," and I said, "I don't need it." And he was sort of taken back, and he said, "What do you mean you don't need it?" And I said, "Well, I have one. You can't drive but one at a time." And so he said, "Well, hell, Miss Cock," he said, "whether you want it or not, it'll be here tomorrow." And it was a beautiful white Pontiac. And he told me, he said, I would have bought you a Cadillac, but a Pontiac is less to maintain.
He said, "Well, it's yours." He tried to hand me the keys. And I said, "No, it's not. No, boss, it's not." And I turned around and walked away. I went back and got in the Rolls Royce limo. He comes over there. "Sonny, what's wrong with you? You can't tell me that you didn't want a Cadillac convertible when you were a kid and you saw people." I said, "Well, yeah, but you seem to always be given and we seem to always be taken." He said, "Sonny, you're given when you don't even know you're given. I put you guys through a lot sometimes."
I called administration the next morning and I said, "I don't know what to do about this." I said, "Elvis has given me a car," and I said, "I've told him I don't need it." And so one of the vice presidents came up and we talked about it, and I said, "You know, I don't want to cause any problems for the hospital." And he said, "I think it would cause a bigger problem if you turned it down."
He started talking to the nurses, and something came up about cars.